Hello model car fans, welcome to the Muscle Car Modeler. My name is Revell, and this week I'm going to feature a build here of a 55 Chevrolet Bel Air convertible, obviously dressed up as the pace car for the 1955 Indy 500 that was done on May 30th, 1955, which says on the door. It's got all the information there. Chevrolet for 1955 had a whole lot of new options and pretty much an all-new car there's probably a bunch of small little exceptions, but one major component was not redesigned. But the biggest news was the Chevy small block engine, and a lot of people, I've heard many times that this is Chevrolet's first V8 engine, and while this 265 cubic inch overhead valve pushrod engine was all new for 55, it really wasn't the first Chevrolet V8 engine. I was a little surprised to learn this, and this is a little known piece of trivia, but GM did have, not GM, Chevrolet, there was other V8s, Cadillac and Oakland before it was Pontiac. Chevrolet, the Chevrolet division itself, had one V8 previously to that, and it was a 288 cubic inch pushrod overhead valve V8 engine. It goes way back, and it's a 1 year only motor, and I found that quite interesting. It is in the 1918 Chevrolet Series D engine, and while it was 288 cubic inches, which makes it bigger than even this motor, it had exposed push rods and lifters and open valley. It was an electric start. It had a starter in the valley area. It made 36 horsepower at 2,700 RPM. So not a stormer, nothing crazy with that one. And it really wasn't a very good engine. Had nickel-plated rocker covers, aluminum water-cooled intake manifolds. It was not known for being a very good engine. I guess it's one of the worst Chevrolets or worst engines, but roughly about 5,000 of those cars were actually built. But it was a 1 year only car, produced in 1917 and 1918, but they were all considered 1918 models. And it had a massive flywheel, which is what kept it running. It had a 50-pound flywheel and a counterbalanced crankshaft. So pretty high tech for the time, in one of America's earliest pushrod overhead valve V8s. I thought was really cool, but I didn't really know much about it. But when it came to the 265 V8 engine in 1955, it was all new and had quite a bit of teething issues, and Revell did a good job, and they actually put it in this kit here. If I can get the hood off without breaking these hinges. Well, I'll leave the hood up. It actually propped up. There's the oil filter, which was actually an option, and it's the 55 only, as there was no cast-in-the-block oil filter that you think of today when you think of small block engines. Here, I'll turn it to the side and you can see it better. But Revell put it in there, but the oil actually came through the thermostat housing, and it was only partially filtered. So this was a 1 year only kind of thrown in there fix, and it did an okay job, but in 56 it was all redesigned, and they had the filter down low at the block, but it wasn't a spin-on filter. It was still a canister type filter with the bolt going through it and a paper filter element you got to change out, but it did a much better job filtering than the 55 setup. But this is in there. Okay, also for 55, when they redesigned the entire car, they went with these really flat sides and really squared off front and rear ends, which is where the shoebox name comes from. That's where it got its nickname, because it was a really boxy shape, which was the 54s and previous were really wavy and had bulges on the side. They really were quite shapely and pretty cool looking cars. But this one, even though it's pretty much a box as far as design goes, they did a really good job with the chrome trim and the two-tone paint and some of the other options, and really dressing it up. And speaking of options, there was a ton of options, things that they never really had before, which they had the Bel Air and it had the 210 and the 150 models, but those were available in many different body styles and body designs. They had two-door coupe, two-door hardtop, four-door sedan, The two-door convertible was only available in the Bel Air trim, so no other options when it came to the convertible. Two-door station wagon and two-door sedan delivery, but the sedan delivery, also nicknamed the Handyman, that was a 110 two-door with no windows. They had the four-door station wagon in both the 150 and 210 models, and then the Bel Air two-door wagon was the Nomad with the completely unique roof and some unique trim that went along with that. And I won't get too much into the Nomad or the wagons, but I'll stick more to this one. They had tons of options. You can get power windows, air conditioning, power seats, power steering, power brakes, automatic light dimmers, door handle protectors, bumper protectors, Wonder Bar radio, and lots of options. So you could really dress these up and personalize them like you couldn't before with the 54 and earlier models. And so it became nicknamed Chevrolet's Little Cadillac because it was such a low price point, you can really dress them up. So these really started to sell and take off. I mean, now one of the things that technologically carryover was basically the Power Glide transmission was carried over, and that was about the only major component that was not updated. So, and then I think that's, yeah, this one's got the, or is it the 3-speed in this one? Actually, yeah, I think that's the 3-speed, not the Power Glide. In the model kit. Kind of hard to tell on some of them. I'm not quite that versed visually on some of them. But the 3-speed synchro mesh manual, 3-speed synchro mesh manual with overdrive, then a 2-speed Power Glide. And then also new for 1955 was this the first year for the 12-volt system. Stepped away from the 6-volt systems that they had previously. Besides two-tone colors and matter of fact, 19 different two-tone combinations were available. So lots and lots and lots of options. Now when it comes to the pace car version, that's where some of the history and it gets difficult to research here. Admittedly, this is the Revell kit and I built it right out of the box, with the only major exception is these decals are actually Fred Cady decals, and I had some problem with mine not sticking and curling off the fenders. I mean, it's like a 1995 kit and I built this back in 2013, so I was having problems with the decals sticking. So I had looked for Fred Cady decals, and at the time you could find them on eBay, and they still come up on eBay. And the other reason I wanted his decals is because the official pace car that goes on the back, Revell doesn't give you those. They are in the Cady decals. So put those on there. And that caused quite a stir because I posted this on Model Cars forum and got a lot of comments about the decals on the back and where did I get them and whether or not they're actually correct. So when it came to the pace cars, there were no replicas actually sold. So there's a big confusion on the replicas. But in 1955, there really wasn't much of a market for people wanting and buying the pace cars. So they built about 10 of them for the race. And there are some variants and some differences. This one is dressed up as pretty much how I believe that the actual pace car was, but most of them are red and white with the decals arranged the way they're arranged on here. There are pictures of the race of some of them that have the actual on the back, and it's believed that the actual pace car had that, and that there was only one actual pace car. And it's kind of rumored, but there's no facts and nobody really knows where that one is, being that there was only 10 made and there's roughly 2 that are known to survive or believed. It's hard to verify or document these because there's really nothing to verify and it can be easily faked. But there's only 10 of them that were made, and they're not all exactly the same. The 2 known have the 180 horse Power Pack 265s. The rumor is that the pace car had the 56 version, a pre-production dual quad intake Power Pack set up on it, making 210 horsepower, I think is what it was rated at for 56. But no verifications on that. But it had just the regular bumpers, none of the trim. One of them has the rocker protectors, the bumper protectors, and the one around the gas door on this side has that on it. And there are pictures of that at the race. And another interesting thing is there was one that's actually turquoise and white pace car, and its decals are a little differently. Don't see any of the official pace car stuff, but you'll see the Indy 500 stuff on the side, and Chevrolet is actually on the door, and it'll say official car here. In the pictures I've seen, you can't really see if it, I think one of the pictures the quarter is there, but it's blank, so it doesn't say official pace car. It may say it in a smaller print on the door. But I thought that was quite interesting that one of them was actually turquoise and white, and I thought that was pretty cool. While the rest of them are red and white. And I painted this one using Testors Guards red, so that's what this is sprayed and then clear coated. But the interior should be red and beige, not red and white. I did it as red and white, thinking that was correct, because most of the pictures are black and white, but not all of them. But a really nice interior that Revell provides here. And this is a really easy kit to build. And these Firestone decals actually come in the Revell kit. Those I was able to use along with the license plate. But real nice kit when it comes to building these things. And here's the underside. So I didn't do any modifications or any changing of this kit because it's fairly accurate. And it's funny, I know a few people, that is the correct rear end. It's technically a 10 bolt, but it's not your 10 bolt with the cover. It's more like a removable pumpkin. And I actually have two stories of a couple of guys. One of them was a friend of mine who ended up buying a 63 Bel Air wagon with a 409 single quad. It wasn't the 425 horse. But he thought for sure when he examined the car that somebody swapped in a Ford 9-inch because it looks more like a Ford 9-inch than the Chevy 10-bolt, which he was thinking had a cover on the back, and these cars did not have that. So, and then I had another friend that had a 55 four-door, and he blew up the rear end, and it came to the shop I'm working at. They were trying to find out, and then the technicians were like, somebody put a Ford 9-inch in this thing. This is not the right rear end. How do we fix this? Where do we get parts? We don't even know what year it is. And I went out and looked at it. I'm like, nope, that's the original rear end, and yeah, it's going to be fun to get parts for it. Yeah, so I've had a couple where they, thought that they had the Ford 9-inch in them, even though, when they're hot rodded, that does happen. In those two particular cases, they didn't happen. When it came to these pace cars, back then, like, they didn't really sell replicas. That didn't really happen until the 67 Camaro pace cars, which there were only like 600 of those made, and they sold them, and a good chunk of them were actually at the race. And then the 69 Camaro, they did thousands of them. This was the second time Chevrolet paced the Indy 500 in 1955. There was one, the previous time I believe was like 1948. Chevrolet had paced the Indy 500. But this was driven by Thomas Keating, who was the general manager for Chevrolet division at the time. So he got the honors. Probably rank has its privileges where he was able to do it. But I bet you that was a fun time driving that around the track for the Indy 500. But I think I rambled on quite a bit, or enough on this one. Wish I can get this hood off without. But when it comes to this kit, if you haven't built this kit, or any of the versions of the Revell Tri-5s of the modern tooling, they're great kits. I mean, I've got this one. They've got another 55 that has the Continental kit and the chrome bumper guards. I've got that one also. The 56 Del Rey and the 56 Nomad, and even a couple of the 57s, the 150 Black Widow kit and the Bel Air Convertible kit, which I haven't built yet. And I've even got one of the 210 kits. Although that one's a donor for resin body. I got one of the resin Nomad bodies for it from MCW. And those are some of my planned builds. But great kit and great tooling. Love these. And they're really easy to build. So if you haven't built one of these, it's just great. But that's enough rambling for now. So thank you for tuning in, subscribing, and listening to my babble and my trivia and things that I like to dig up and research when it comes to my subjects, because that's what keeps me motivated in finding some of the unique options on these cars or any of my subjects. That's just always fun for me. But you guys, you have a wonderful Saturday, and I'll see you next Saturday.